Good afternoon and welcome to Marketplace today as we're looking at the top business issues that are going out there and how they will affect you. Coming up, IMF is warning of Ghana's rising debt stock remains the biggest threat to the stability of the economy.
Going forward, it will be very, very important to make sure that that policies revert back to making sure that there is a much more of a focus on keeping debt stable and bringing it down gradually.
Cocoa said to roll out pension scheme for cocoa farmers that is next month.
Yes, this year. Maybe this November. I mean, the launch will come.
And the head of the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Bauerly, warns whom you know syndrome could be the biggest threat to academic excellence.
One of the things that industry in Ghana hasn't helped at schools a lot is what they require when they had to employ.
My name is George Yafi. Let's now settle for the details. The International Monetary Fund has warned that the country's rising debt stock still remains a major threat to firmly stabilizing the economy. Now, this is coming after the fund projected that Ghana will end the year with a debt-GDP ratio of 77% from the current 68%. And this was captured in its Sub-Saharan Africa Regional Economic Outlook released in Washington, D.C. In an interview that was responding to a question to the head of the African Department, Abebe Selassie, says that development is worrying. Okay, so my question is that in terms of what are the threats to the Ghanaian economy going forward? We had some shocks from COVID-19, but going ahead, what are the threats to the Ghanaian economy? And is the debt still an issue? I know that we are being classified as high risk of debt distress. What's the situation now? Are we improving or things are getting worse, please?
Thanks. Ghana, of course, faces very significant challenges on its economy. After the difficulties of 2014-15, there had been a period of quite strong reforms and consolidation and was on a reasonably good trajectory. But of course, the pandemic has come and really shaken the foundations of Ghana's economy as it has much else. This year, the policy response has been very supportive, as needs to be the case. But, going forward, it will be very, very important to make sure that that policies revert back to making sure that there is a much more of a focus on keeping debt stable and bringing it down gradually. So I think much will depend on how quickly this policy recalibration takes place. And given how high debt levels were in Ghana, I think the quicker that's done, the better. So I think, the government is of the same view and, effecting those reforms will be of paramount importance. As you know, in all our conversations in Ghana, in our comments in Ghana, we've been saying, it's really important that we strongly supported the government's vision of, as the president has been saying, Ghana beyond aid. That's absolutely the right vision. And of course, that aid has to be replaced by tax revenues and other permanent domestic sources of financing rather than debt. And so effecting that transfer is really what's going to be key. And we'll be working with the government through the Article 4 process to provide technical advice, whatever the government needs.
The latest data from the Bank of Ghana puts the total debt stock ending July at 263 billion Ghana cedis. Ghana has been classified as a high risk of debt distress country. Let's get on to Zoom for some discussions and engage financial economist Dr. Lord Mensah on the concerns raised by the IMF and how those issues are well grounded. Good afternoon, Doc, and thank you for joining us on Marketplace this afternoon. First, let me ask you, what do you make of these concerns being expressed by the International Monetary Fund about our rising debt stock and the impact on the economy?
Oh, yeah, George. Good afternoon. And good afternoon to our viewers. I would say clearly it is of a concern. I mean, if you look at our debt level and even the intention of the fiscal gap that we intend to create during the budget review, I mean, clearly it gives you the signal that if you don't take care by the end of the year, will end up having a huge debt, and I think they are projecting somewhere around 76 point something percent to our GDP. Now, every debt is of a concern, and especially when you're looking at the debt that is being spent on, enhancing revenue generation. So if you look at it, some of the investment that we've done, clearly is to ensure that we domestically mobilize enough revenue. But you can see that our revenue is going down, and it gives a signal to worry. But then the hope is not lost, because we still have our resources intact. What we have to do now is to be a bit conserved in terms of our, fiscal gap that we intend to create every now and then. If we give ourselves 5 years and we adapt that conserved nature, for which we will not go deeper into aggressive way of, creating a huge budget deficit, i.e. ensuring that, we spend to beat some target. At least we should allow the current generation to sacrifice for some of our debt, but rather than pushing it to the future generation. The reason why I'm saying this is that, we seem to be adopting a posture where we want to aggressively spend, but then we spend into areas that productivity is quite difficult to measure. When you do that, it becomes difficult to look at your debt. But then we still have our resources intact. If we are to maintain, that conservative attitude of reducing our expenditure in a way. When we talk about debt management, we always look at revenue mobilization, but sometimes we need to sacrifice, And the sacrifice that we're talking about here is allowing the current generation to bear some brunt of our debt. We don't have to provide certain amenities to people who don't need them at this moment. So effectively, if we are to go by that direction, we should be able to, manage our debt in the next, 5 years, whilst we still have our resources intact.
Prof, is the concern about where these debts are directed to? Because this has not been the first time that the fund and even our development partners, we've not forgotten about HIPIC. Now we are being classified as high risk of debt distress. When you look at the debt sustainability analysis, it looks like it's getting worse and worse each and every year. But government tells us that they are managing our debt, there's a debt management control and all the rest. What are we not getting it right in terms of rather slowing the growth of debt and also ensuring that we are removed from that tag of a distressed country?
Yeah, like I said earlier, if you look at our appetite, to borrow, it is tied to basically our political cycles and basically providing the necessary infrastructure for the people. Now, if you look at Africa, there's a huge infrastructure, deficit, for which Ghana is part of it. If you don't strategize very well, you might think, okay, fine, you are providing this infrastructure for the current generation to build up the future. But then by so doing, you end up accruing, more debt. The problem is that we need infrastructure, but then we have to strategically spend, set our priorities right in our spending. Then in that case, we should be able to manage, our debt. Now, for instance, if you take in our economy, we've spent a lot on digitization. And I think one of the recommendations that came from the IMF was to look at our digitalization and how it fits into revenue generation. We're not getting that. We've spent money all right, but we are not getting, that link between how we are digitalizing the system and then how it's enhancing, revenue generation. So effectively, if we should get it right, we should be able to, invest in areas that can build up our revenue generation. And normally, if we are targeting our debt, we have to look at it in relation to our revenue generation, not the GDP in general, because, the GDP, you can have it, but part of it might not necessarily build up into revenue generation. You can have a huge GDP base, but then in the end, revenue mobilization becomes a problem. So effectively, if you have a system where debt is growing, but then in the end, revenue mobilization turns up to be reducing, then it becomes a problem. It's a matter of setting your priorities right and spending in critical areas. We know we need infrastructure, but then if infrastructure delivery shouldn't be all hands on, it should be targeted.
So, Doc, if I get from you finally, it means that, listen, if you want to improve their situation, let's look at improving revenue mobilization internally. And you think that Ghanaians are ready for this?
Well, that is why I'm saying that we have to sacrifice, as a country. Sometimes we keep on prolonging. If you look at the debt management strategies that we've been adopting recently, it's a matter of, prolonging our debt. Sometimes we have extended maturities, and those maturities are for the future generations. The current generation, what are we doing as far as our debt is concerned? Are we ready to sacrifice some freebies that we are enjoying from the government? Are we ready to sacrifice, some pain in tax increment? That is what I'm talking about here. So we need to look at the sacrifice from the current generation rather than keeping on to prolong our debt, shifting it into the future for our children to bear.
Prof. Doc, I thank you so much for your time for this afternoon. Have a great day.
You're welcome, sir.
Now, the Dean of the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Justice Bauerly, is warning that the whom you know syndrome in the corporate world will be the biggest threat to academic excellence. Now, some graduates today still complain about difficulties in securing jobs despite being qualified. Professor Bauerly noted that this phenomenon could make university education disincentive in the long run. He spoke to you earlier on the business edition of PM Express.
People must understand the root causes of things that happen for them to be able to analyze them. So theory is important, but we also try to give our students a feel of how it is like in the practical world. So as a business school, I do not have a business as a laboratory. If you got a scientist, the scientist will go into the lab and perform experiments. As a business school, I do not have that. What I have is industry in town. So your business would be, for my students who are doing marketing communications, multimedia would be a laboratory where the students can come in there and begin to experiment and play with the things that they have learned. Now, if that will be possible, then we will need industry to come along with us. And that is why I have told colleagues that I've had conversations with that it is okay to give us the feedback, but go the step further and open up and allow us to be able to send you our students, and for you to continue to begin to mold their thinking even before they leave the school. And we do that together. When we do that together, you will get a student who will go out there. And last semester, I got a wonderful feedback from our students who had gone into industry to do a month's internship, 2 months internship, and they came back, and you should see their experience, you should listen to them. And some of them, even the way of dressing actually changed. Now, what we want industry to support us to do are things like that. So yes, we hear the feedback, we hear the complaints. The other thing which I hesitate to talk about, but your program is premier, so let me say it. One of the things that industry in Ghana hasn't helped our schools a lot is what they require when they had to employ.
Let's move into the agri sector, because Cocoa Board has expressed its readiness to roll out the much talked about pension scheme for farmers next month. According to the country's cocoa regulator, the necessary documentations have been completed pending its launch, that is November this year. Dr. Imalopoku is the Deputy Chief Executive of Cocoa Board.
We can look at the measures we've taken one by one. Okay, if we have to talk about pensions, the cocoa farmers' pension now, the pension is something that every worker wants to enjoy when you no longer have the strength and the energy to work. So to the farmers, they are very happy, and I know that the president will launch it very soon. The only thing
this is going to take off very soon.
Yes, this year, maybe this November. I mean, the launch will come. The only thing that we had not concluded yet was to select the farmer reps who were to represent the group on the governing board, which we have done last Friday. So that is the only thing which was outstanding, and so we are writing to the National Pensions Regulatory Authority to then register the farmers. Then they will have a complete board set, and then that paves the way for the formal launch of the pension scheme.
How is it going to be? Is it going to be worked out as the third tier operational scheme, or how is it going? Or is it going to be a special one in the public sector? Let's talk about Cap 30 and all that. How is this one going to be worked out for these farmers, sir?
This one is simple. It's a contributory scheme, and the farmers will be required to contribute 5% of their sales. Okay, you can decide, you can choose to contribute more than 5%, but the minimum is 5% of your sales. And then Cocoa Board will add not more than 1% of the total value to the scheme. And then we say that after 3 years, if you are a contributor and you want to take a loan, yes, you can take a loan. But then after 5 years of contribution, you qualify as a pensioner, who then your total contribution, and you can take your total contribution and the interest thereon. And the other thing is that it is not going to be something flat for everybody. It depends. Whatever you can take out of it depends on your individual contribution to the scheme. So a farmer who produces, let's say, 2,000 bags in a year, they obviously earn more, because 2,000 bags in a year, the value of that, 5% of that going into the scheme plus 1% from Cocoa Board, making 6%, will earn something higher than the one who contributed just about 10 bags of cocoa in the whole year.
There are other programs as well that you've actually rolled in, and that's why I'm asking that the premium as well and all those things.
Yes. We have rolled in the what we call the cocoa pollination, which was the first program we started. We have also introduced irrigation, and then the rehabilitation. Rehabilitation, comes in two forms. We have rehabilitation of disease farms, that is the swollen shoot virus disease farms, and the rehabilitation of overaged farms. For these programs, we started though before we brought on board the support from the AFDB, that the AFDB facilitated the 600 million syndicated loan that we got from AFDB to support it. In 2017, we began with a pollination program. So that actually moved yield from an acre of cocoa farm from 3 to 4 bags, maximum 4 bags that they were doing. Some farmers, the highest farmer I saw made 36 bags from 1 acre of cocoa farm. And so that year we had an average of 12 bags.
Well, this is Marketplace. Let's take a short commercial break and we will be right back. You're welcome back. And foreign direct investment for the first half of this year has hit some record levels despite the coronavirus. Now, figures from the Ghana Investment Promotion Center puts the amount at $785 million. Addressing the media, Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant, expressed confidence that these investment numbers will double by the close of this year.
Of this, the total FDI component amounted to 627.52 million, while the local component accounted for an estimated $61.22 million. The FDI value of 627.52 million was a considerable increase of over 409.10% over last year's FDI value of 123.26 million, recorded during the same period of January to June 2019. And this depicts a strong performance irrespective of the global pandemic. And please note that I said of the figures I just gave were those recorded only at GIPC. When we add what we recorded from the Petroleum Commission, we get the total figure of 785 million FDI for the first half of the year. Of the 69 projects recorded, the services sector registered a majority of 25 projects, followed by the manufacturing and export trade sector with 21 and 11 projects respectively. With regards to value, general trading recorded the highest amount of $246.05 million.
Now let's talk about something that is one of the biggest events on the housing calendar. With just a week to go for the JoyNews EcoBank Habitat Fair, exhibitors at Droplets have been telling Joy Business why they should own any of their products. Today we put the spotlight on Droplets, a household name that doesn't only offer huge discount for its water tanks, but also come up with some new product for COVID-19. Here is Head of Sales, Immunology.
I think we celebrated our 50th anniversary 2019. That's exactly 1 year ago. So we are 51 years now.
That's great.
Yes, that's good. Yeah. And Droplets is a plastic manufacturing company, and we are mainly into building construction industry. Yeah, like from the foundation to finishing, you will need Droplets products. Like from foundation, you have to barricade, especially these high-rise buildings. You have to barricade the area for safety of workers on site. So we have the DB, that's the Durablock site. Then we also have the water tank, which is a flagship product at the moment. But you need it to store water for your site. Even when you finish the construction, also you need a water tank to store water for your family. There we have the pipes, the PVC pipes and the UPVC pipes for servicing the water to your house, as well as to send wastewater to the drains or out of the house. Yeah, we have the UPVC conduit pipes also for electrical wiring. We have DST, that's the Droplets septic tank. This is a very innovative. It's a septic tank from plastic which filters the sewage water. So at the end of the day, you can either discharge the effluent into a drainage, because it comes out just like wastewater. The fecal matter stays in the tank and the effluent comes out. Then also, if you have lawn on your compound or in your home, you can use this wastewater to water it. It's not been easy, you know. A lot of companies has come into this industry and they couldn't survive and they have to leave. But Droplets have been able to survive to this time because of our quality product. Just like the name, Droplets, durable plastic product. We have the quality, and as we speak now, we are certified to ISO 9001:2015. Our products are ISO certified. Our products are of international standard. ISO is international standard organization, and they've certified our products to be of international standard. So that is why we have depots in a lot of African countries like Niger, like Mali, Burkina, Cote d'Ivoire. Our products are all over there. We had issues here and then, but then because of the teamwork here, the management, directors, it's like any issue that pops up, they are able to find a solution to it. Being a personal issue, being a technical issue, being financial issue, there has been, but then with the team from factory level to management level to director level, it's like we've been able to overcome everything. That's why we are enjoying this success at 51 years. Yeah. Have been of help to Droplets in ways of let's say business procurement. Yeah, we do get a lot of business from the government, like Ghana Water. They buy a lot from us for their water projects. Just during this peak of COVID, there's a lockdown. Yeah, Ghana Water bought a lot of big water tanks for us, which you can see in town. They mount them at strategic positions for some communities. So they bought a lot of us. So government has been in very good relation with us. Then apart from Ghana Water, I think ECG also buys PE pipes for other electrical companies. So I think.
But not too soon, you have to draw the curtain down on Marketplace. There's always a reason why we say, thank God it's Friday. Let's catch up somewhere in the capital tonight for a glass of water.